If you like what you hear on the podcast today, or even if you don't, be sure to let us know about it.
Please like, comment, and share on any of the podcast platforms you're listening on.
It's Midwest Ghost Hunters. We're at Pythian Castle in Springfield, Missouri, for another episode of the podcast. And you may be wondering why we've already been, going here, 17 seconds, and nobody's dropped an F-bomb yet. It's because we have a guest, two guests in the castle with us today. We've got Megan and her daughter Paisley. Megan, do you want to kind of tell us, you emailed and asked if you all could come. Do you kind of want to tell us, kind of what led up to you guys being here today?
So Paisley has been on this ghost hunting thing for a good minute now. Spends most of her free time watching clips, doing all the things. So I was trying to think of something different to do for her upcoming 12th birthday. She's a really great kid. She is. She's kind and she's smart. She tries really hard at school. She's on the honor roll. I thought maybe I'd just give it a shot, see if you guys would let her do something.
What was it that spurred the interest in the paranormal and ghost hunting? What was it that did it?
Well, at first I watched videos and stuff, and I really got invested in it and thought it was really cool and fascinating.
What video? Who do you watch? Like YouTube?
Yeah.
Nukes. What channels do you watch?
So I watch a lot of different Chris, Sam, and Colby, those
okay.
top people, most,
Sam and Colby.
So they've actually been here.
I think so.
Yeah, they have. So is it? Are you just are you one of those people who find it entertaining as a viewer? Or are you wanting to get involved in it and actually do that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that'd be fun, actually getting to see it personally and knowing it's real instead of watching through a screen.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It is always more real when it happens to you.
Yeah.
I will tell you that beyond a shadow of a doubt that it doesn't matter how many shows you watch or what you do. When you're you're somewhere and you see a figure come walking out that's not there, it's a lot more real.
Yeah, for sure. We weren't even 100% sure, when we started this, if we would ever, I honestly, in the back of my mind, thought we would probably never really see or hear anything.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of us. When I was about that age is when I started doing the same thing. You always kind of doubt until you see or hear something for yourself.
So anyway, yeah, Megan messaged us and said Paisley was turning 12 and asked and was interested in this kind of thing and asked if we could do something. I was like, well, the only thing I can think of right now is we're going to podcast on Sunday if you'd like to come here to the castle and do that. So that's why they're here.
Megan, have you ever had an interest in the paranormal as well, or is this just hers, or what? How's that work?
Well, I don't know. I think all teenagers and stuff go through a little phase where it's a thing, I remember being in high school though, and everybody was always hyped up about the Aurora High School. They had orbs maybe, and there was YouTube videos of people walking through it and doing, things. But
schools seem to be just kind of
schools. Well, here's the deal. Schools have every school has its own urban legends. The may or may not have happened, but there's a lot of schools that also have legitimate paranormal activity. Why? I will never understand.
Schools, hospitals, nursing homes.
I don't understand any of those.
I think that it stems from the fact that these are buildings that have people in them at all hours, and so that there's just more time to observe the activity that is going on. I think that you would find it in a lot of other buildings when nobody's in the building after 5 o'clock at night to see this stuff happen. It just goes unobserved.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
So I was kind of looking through here, since you like watching the videos, obviously this is a podcast format, so videos are going to be non-compelling to people who are listening, but we can play audio. That's really our bread and butter for our group is, we've got some good videos, we've got some good pictures, we've got a lot of audio that we've captured over the years. And I thought if you wanted to hear some of those, here on the podcast while you're here, just to get a sample, if this is something that you're actually interested in, might, one day be wanting to, do this, we thought we might show you some examples of some things you might come across. I'm just randomly selecting here, as I was looking through, I didn't really have a plan, but I thought I would start at we've been doing this a long time, but I thought I'd play a few of these. And this one that I picked it because it was one of our first run-ins with significant activity. It was also the infancy of John's introduction to the group. And this was a long time ago.
Yeah. I've known these guys forever.
Our whole lives, all of us.
And they came in and they said, hey, we're doing this. We would like for you to come in and we're doing paranormal investigation. And I said, you mean you're like the Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
And he said, well, no. I said, well, what do you use proton power? What are you doing? I mean, what are you doing? He says, no. We just go out and we document stuff.
I wish we had proton packs.
So we go out and I just didn't really buy into it. And even it comes back to the same thing we mentioned earlier, and that is when it happens to you, it's a lot more real.
Me and Dustin, and I think Tyler, right? For whatever reason, my memory, it was the three of us. Me and Dustin and Tyler.
I mean, at the very beginning, it was
Well, I'm
just you
talking
and I.
about this particular investigation we did in Bolivar. See, me and Dustin had gone out to a few places and caught a few little things here and there. By the time we got to this one, we come up with the idea of, you know what, we should get John involved because John has photography, he's got cameras, and he could. So that was when, I asked John, about that. Would you want to do this? And he was reluctant, but he said, you can take my cameras if you want, but I don't think I'm going to go. So we did. We took his cameras and we set them up, and we'll get to that part here in a minute. This was a house we did in Bolivar. And what this house was, and if you don't know this word, it's okay. I didn't either. It was once a preacher's rectory. What that is where the town or the church in town owns a home, and when they hire the preacher to preach there, they let them live in this home. So that's what this house was at one point. And it was a very old house. And apparently some weird stuff happened at that house in real life, not before the paranormal even kicked in, because when we went in there, it was bizarrely set up where all the bedroom doors had locks on the outside, like they were trying to lock people in. And then the owner of the house said, yeah, there's been child abuse here. There's been, all these different things, not necessarily from the preacher. I don't even know who committed it. But anyway, that's kind of a setup for this house. We went inside and it was, there was no AC, correct? I know it was July or August. It was hot as hell. There was no AC in there, and the house was full of flies. I mean, it was full of them. Not necessarily that's paranormal. It's just weird because you flip the light on and the ceiling is just like covered in flies. And anybody who's seen, what was it, Poltergeist or Amityville? One of those. It was one of those. There's a lot of flies in it. Anyway, this is the house that we did. Me and Dustin and Tyler. And we took John's cameras and we set them up and we set up the recorders. And we had no idea we were going to catch so much there. And it was, I think everything we caught was kids. And that was a couple of these I was going to play for you. I'm just going to play it and you'll hear the voice. Now keep in mind, it was me and Dustin and Tyler, three dudes. There was not a female, let alone a child in sight. Let me go ahead and play this one for you.
So if you'll step up to this recorder and tell us your name, or if you died here.
So it sounds to us, and we're guessing, it's pure conjecture, but it sounds to us like it says Emma when we said if you would tell us your name.
Whatever it says, it's not one of us.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say is whatever it says isn't even that important. It's that something said something. Let me go ahead and play. Let me play that one again just so you can hear it.
Did we hear this at the time?
Nope.
I didn't think
we
so.
just kept right on
That
moving.
happens a lot.
Yep.
So if you'll step up to this recorder and tell us your name.
So I don't know. Maybe it's not Emma. I can't. Every time I hear it, I hear something different. But like I said, what the answer really isn't that important.
I think it could be that or Mama.
Could be. Yeah, I think people have said that too. Now, this next one I'm going to play for you is the weirdest damn thing maybe one of the weirdest ones we've ever caught. Remember me and you and Tyler, because one of the claims was the kids' homework gets thrown on the floor off the table. Remember we put all the homework out on the table there and we came back down and it was all over the floor.
This is a different house.
No, it's the same one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's the same one in Bolivar. It's been a long time ago. They kind of start to blend together after a while. This is the macaroni.
Oh.
Yeah, it's that one. So we put the homework on the table and then we came downstairs and it was all on the floor. And we actually put a picture of it on the website, like a before and after. But at that point, we did an EVP. Are you familiar with some of these terms that we're using, like EVP, EMF?
I've heard of the EMF thing. It's like the thing.
Yeah, if you open that case up there, I was going to get that out before we even started, and I forgot. I didn't know if you remember to bring the K2 meter.
I've got mine in the car.
Yeah, just flip that on if we'll set it next to Paisley and see if we can get that thing to trigger. So that is an EMF detector. That measures electromagnetic frequencies. Just because it beeps doesn't necessarily mean that there's a ghost, but EMF should not be freely wandering. EMF should be, near very high voltage, appliances or near a fuse box or something. It shouldn't. If you set up an EMF detector and it's going off randomly, that doesn't make sense because EMF it moves in waves. It doesn't meander. So if that goes off, that the theory is that's how you detect the energy manifested by paranormal entities. And we've had that thing communicate with us before, so maybe there's something to it. The other word that we use a lot is EVP. That's electronic voice phenomena. That's whenever you catch a voice on a recorder that you did not hear with your ears. It defies all physics of sound waves and everything, but it happens. And I'm getting ready to show you one right here. This is in that same house in Bolivar. This one's so bizarre. And keep in mind, we did not hear this. This is in that same area where that homework was thrown all over the floor. Let me go ahead and just play it for you, keeping in mind that it's me and Dustin and Tyler and no kids there. Here we go.
Out of the corner of my eye, I swear, I keep seeing something right over there.
So it sounds to us like a little kid trying to scare somebody.
Yeah, it sounds like my son just messing around.
Yeah.
Like a really young kid.
But we didn't hear it at the time.
I forgot about that, Chris.
Not me. I've never forgotten about that. That's the one I always go to whenever we're in whenever we give demonstrations like we did at Drury or the library, or we have people in, who want to hear some of this stuff. Even though it's an older one, it still defies everything that's logical.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
All these do. But this one, I'm going to play it one more time just to hear that. That is a little kid that we didn't hear. And you can even hear the kid's voice has like that same room like echo that ours does. But yet we didn't hear it. Let me do it one more time.
Out of the corner of my eye, I swear, I keep seeing something right over there.
It's a good one. It's one of my favorite ones that we've ever got. I get a visual picture of what this looks like because I do remember this moment. And I remember thinking there was movement in a corner. You never can tell. When you're in a dark room, your eyes start to mess with you. An example of that is, here at the castle, when we investigated here, me and Tyler were down in the tunnels, which there's tunnels underneath this place. And the tunnel is a dead end. Once you go all the way to the end, it's a dead end. We went to the end of that tunnel and we're looking back towards the opening. There's a little bit of light up there. And once you stare at that opening long enough, your eyes start to make little things jump. It's like, is that something moving, or is that just, as your eyes adjust to the dark, you start to see movement. So we have to be aware of that kind of stuff too. What I was going to do here next is I'm not going to do the thing where I just go through and play all my favorites, but I am going to play one more. But before I do, I wanted to kind of give you a little information that you may have picked up on watching the videos that you watch. In our orbit, Dustin loves this part. Oh, God. We have to use some kind of structure whenever we're describing some of these things. We don't have to, but it helps sometimes. So they say there are 3 or 4 types of hauntings. There is an intelligent haunting. That's where a spirit entity or whatever knows you're there and communicates with you. Okay, this is like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So it's a person who once lived. We assume, we don't know, but it's something with intelligent thought that can answer questions. That's an intelligent. And then you move on to the next, which is the most common, and that's a category we call residual. Now, residual hauntings are what most of them probably are. That's where you're not actually seeing a ghost of a person. You're seeing a moment in time that once happened being replayed over and over and over.
It's like a recording.
So like the house where the person at 3 a.m. sees the guy running down the stairs with his lunchbox every morning. That's not really the guy running down the stairs with his lunchbox to go to work. That is just something that happened, and for whatever reason, it's just on a loop. That's a residual type. That tends to be what most become categorized as. And then you've got the third type, the kind that you don't want to run into if you can avoid it, and that's the non-human.
Those are bad.
So those are the fun videos to watch. Yeah. They're not the fun ones to be in. So that is where, some people use the word demon. We use the word non-human because we don't know, what it is. But a human doesn't growl. So anyway, that's the three types. Should I go to the non-human stuff, or should I? Let me do one more. So here's an example of an intelligent one. This happened at a house here in Springfield. And again, intelligent is where you ask a question and it answers you. And this is an example of that. You do have to listen close.
This is the one that you were going to say, "What's your name?" And then they'll play back a clip of what they perceive the answer is.
And 9 times out of 10, you're going to say, "What's your name?" And nothing's going to bother with answering you. This one time, I shouldn't say one time. We've had a few times it did. But in this instance, it did answer. And now we had done a pre-workup of this house before we went there just to see if any deaths had occurred, because for whatever reason, the homeowners thought a homicide had occurred there. So we were looking into it, and we couldn't find any evidence that a homicide had occurred there. A lot of people had lived there over the past. It was a house used by the railroad here in town. So anyway, there was a family that once lived there. We made a whole list of every family that lived there, and the family that lived there, their last name was Morrissey, and they did have a couple of kids, a couple of daughters who lived there. One of them, those daughters, was Sarah Morrissey. Did she die in the house a tragic death? I don't think so. We couldn't find any evidence of that. But if you listen to this, it sure as hell sounds like, I'll just play it and you can hear what name you think she says. Now, the last name is harder to tell. Just focus on the first name. Here we go.
Can you tell us your name? How long have you been here?
I think I hear Sarah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and really, that's all that matters. I mean, we could pick apart the last name till the end of time. What's the difference? I mean, there were 4 dudes in that house.
When you're listening for these things, you have to listen behind what's going on. A lot of times people will come back in, and I've known people who say, well, hey, I'll listen to your podcast and your EVPs are pretty hard to hear. I said, well, I'll get back with the ghost on that, and I'll have him speak up a little bit
Tell him
better.
to speak up a little bit.
But you've got to listen behind it, like what you did there.
Yeah, I can play that one more time here.
Can you tell us your name?
That's a good example of an intelligent, style response. And again, we didn't hear that at the time. A lot of these we don't hear until we, get back and start, pulling apart the audio. Now, the exception to that rule tends to be here at Pythian Castle. We hear a lot of stuff here, and it just depends on the day. We've heard, I've been touched here. I've never been touched in my life by anything, and we've been in some pretty sticky situations, ghost-wise. I've never been touched, but I sure as hell was here. We've had what are some other stuff we've had here, just even in this room.
Well, Chris and I were doing the podcast alone, and we were in the other room. There's a room that's on the other side of the castle that we used to use all the time.
We can go over there
for
here in a minute.
podcasting. He and I are sitting at the table, and while we're across the table from each other, there's a chair on the other side, and it starts rocking back and forth, side to side while we were here.
Yeah.
And I saw it happen. I didn't say anything because first I thought Chris was kicking it.
Well,
he
I
didn't
saw it
say
too.
anything because he thought I was kicking it. And then I said, hey, why is that chair rocking back and forth? And it was just boom, 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 boom.
And we've done investigations here. We went down into the basement. The first thing we saw, that night we did that investigation, the first thing we saw.
Hang on. You say basement like it's like where the washer and dryer is.
Oh no, this is
like a dungeon. This is where they put POWs.
There's POW jail
In
cells
World
down
War
there.
II.
Yeah.
In World War II. Yes.
Downstairs, right below us. Yeah, it's more than just a basement. It's pretty significant. I mean, there's paintings on the wall down there that were done by Japanese prisoners.
Didn't the tunnel at one point go to like a medical facility?
There's another complex that's behind the castle here, and it still is exactly as it was in World War II because it's still owned by the military. And the tunnel that's at the bottom used to connect with that tunnel, that building that's over there.
There's one like jail cell down there where a POW had like painted.
It was a Japanese prisoner.
A Japanese prisoner.
They
had
painted a Japanese
like
cherry blossom
mosaic.
Yeah. So it's more than a basement. But anyway, we were walking down there to do our investigation. The first thing we walked in, the big chandelier down there was just swinging back and forth. That's a concrete ceiling.
Straight out of a horror movie.
Yeah, it's a concrete ceiling. There's no way to do that unless you reach up there and, you move it around. So anyway, this is where you are now is definitely the most haunted place in town and one of the most haunted places, in the country. But I'll say this, we've been here a long time. Every week. There's nothing here that will hurt you. It seems all very curious and benign. Contrary to what you might see on some of the shows that you may run across.
That's done for ratings. That's done for downloads. Because if you come in and you make the ghost non-harmful and not threatening, it's just not going to be.
It's not good TV,
right?
Yeah.
It's not as good ratings driving. But if you turn them into evil demons and stuff like that, then it helps your ratings.
One of the reasons we wanted to have you in here is because your mom had mentioned that you were interested in this, and do you have any questions specifically about it?
So, what's like the craziest thing you've ever experienced? Like top tier, like would never want to go through that again.
Go ahead.
No, you can take it. At this point, we've talked about this so much that
We actually did a podcast on.
any of us could say that we were going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah, we actually did a podcast on this, and we talked about this investigation so many times that we stopped talking about the investigation.
Because,
But since you didn't know, I'll go ahead and I'll run this. And it was a house. It was in Willard, Missouri, and we had gone out to this house a couple of times, and it was a stereotypical haunting. And by what I mean by that is that it's something that's almost like out of a movie. There was a little girl that the grandmother said that the little girl sees monsters and everything come out of her closet at night, and there's monsters scaring them. And so we went over, we checked out the house. Nothing was there. And we went back a second time. And, because grandma called us and said, look, she's terrified. We're seeing things. There's got to be some stuff going on. You guys have got to check this out. We go back a second time, and we'd found some things in this situation, but nothing like what we would find later on. It was on the third time they called us, and I told Chris, I said, okay, here's the deal. There's nothing in that house. Dustin had commented that he could sleep in the house. We couldn't find anything. Nothing was going on. Nothing is happening there. I said, but I think what we're dealing with, we've got a bunch of high school kids, and there's some high school kids over there, and we're going to go over and we're going to catch them, because that's what we're dealing with. Because a lot of times when we go out and do paranormal investigations, a lot of what we end up proving is that it is not paranormal at all, that it is a raccoon, that it is a squirrel, that they have a wiring problem.
Well, long story short, it was not a raccoon.
No, it was not. We went back in there, and when we go back the third time, that's when things get really bad. We were downstairs, and they had a real nice pool table down there, and Chris and I are there, and we've got I think we've got the EVP somewhere of he and I are talking, and all of a sudden that meter that's sitting over there by you starts screaming, and it gets knocked off completely over into the middle of the floor, and there's a growl at that point in time. We had we went outside for a little bit, and we hear what sounds like screeching, like a pterodactyl sort of sound.
let me back up right
house.
there because I've got that audio piece. So yeah, this was a house that we went to, like John said, 3 times, and each time it got progressively worse. After the first time, typically we wouldn't have revisited this house because we had a few little things happen and it didn't really seem like much, but they insisted we come again. When we came the second time, we had a little more. Was it 2 or 3 times? We went?
Third.
And it was the third
time.
time that was really bad.
When you visit a house, do you guys always go at the same kind of day? Do you try to split it up if you go back multiple times? Like you go in the morning or do you go in the evening?
Well, we usually go in the evening. We've tiptoed a little bit into doing daytime investigations as well.
I will tell you that I think that homes are just as haunted. If you've got a place that is haunted, it will be as haunted at 10 a.m. as it is at 10 p.m. But people go at 10 p.m. because it's cooler and it fits more the ghost.
We have a little
feel.
bit of an entertainment angle we have to fulfill too, on some of this stuff with the pictures and videos and stuff. So it does look better to the people who consume this kind of thing, like you, to do these kind of things at night. So we tend to do them at night, not necessarily all for that reason, but we have done a few in the day. But I'm going to back up a little bit to what John was talking about. The one in the basement. Now, this is, you asked us, your question was there an experience we had we wouldn't want to, have again? That was so crazy. This is it. This house is, as we go through this story, we'll tell you what happened there. We put the recorder on the fireplace mantle and said, if you have anything to say to us, say it into this recorder. We're going to step outside. We stepped outside, and this is what we caught. See if you can hear what it says here. It was real quick right there. That's a tough one. That's one of those, like John was saying, you have to kind of listen a little bit behind it. But it says go home.
And then there's a scratching or a grinding sound.
Yeah, we don't know what that is. There were so many weird things that happened in this house. And it finally led up to
the last little
moments,
bit of it. Yeah.
The last moments that we were in the house.
Came back in after we heard this screeching, and all of the cameras in the house are on tripods. Now, we're not talking about I set it on a table like here. We're talking about full-on set-up tripods that you cannot shut off. You can't flip them over. All of them are flipped over. when we come back in. Every camera in the house has been flipped over, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. And what finally brought this out was we were walking down the hall, and Chris said, I'm going to see if I can just call this entity out and see what's going on. And so we're walking down the hall to this little girl's room, and he says, so you like to scare little girls? You really like scaring little girls? Why don't you try that on us? Come on out right now and show us. Pick on us if you want. Chris is going into the little girl's room, and he's got his hand on the door. We're going in there. Something comes running down the hall at me. There's nothing in there, but something comes running down the hall at me, and directly into my ear. Blows directly in my ear. I can't talk very well. And on the EVP that we actually have of this, you hear me trying to explain to Chris what's going on. And at the same time, he's holding onto the door of the closet, and something's trying to now come out of the closet. Now, keep in mind, I was convinced earlier on we were dealing with a bunch of high school kids. Yep. And so we had searched every avenue of that house. We had searched because I was convinced we had high school kids hidden in the place that were pulling a prank trying to scare people.
So do you have the audio of the closet door?
I have that, and I have his ear getting blown in.
So he's got that, and at this moment in time, we end up...
It's funny in retrospect only.
Yes, yeah. At the time, not funny at all. So we end up running out, and we leave, and we're outside like, oh my God, what's going on? We got to go back inside and get our stuff. When we were leaving the house that night, when we had come back in, there was so much stuff that happens. It gets all jumbled and everything else. When we had come back in, it sounded like the sound of circus music playing.
I got that too.
It's very, very loud. And when we were leaving, there's also an entity that says smells like smoke when we come back in. When we were leaving, as loud as I'm talking right now, a voice that is not in there starts laughing. An evil sort of laugh at us, says, "Where you boys going?"
So I'm going to back up a little, because this will directly answer your question. This is the house that we would never want to have to do again, even though we're getting ready to.
Well, it's not the same house.
You couldn't even if you
we
wanted
can't
to.
do the same house. It burned to the ground shortly after we were there with the people in it.
They
got out okay.
Yeah, they jumped out the window. But I do want to play a couple of the EVPs. So I'm going to play the one where John gets his ear blown in, because the reaction to getting his ear blown in is so freaking funny. It is now. So let me play that one first.
Are you in here? What's wrong? Did you hear the step?
Right over my shoulder.
What was it? Breathe?
Breathe right in my ear, Chris. I can't breathe, Chris.
It's funny in retrospect.
It was absolutely terrifying, because I looked down the hall and I saw something running directly at me, but there's nothing there. And but you know the feeling of something running up on you, and maybe you don't even know that feeling. I didn't until that night, but then I did know it.
So what happened next was we were in the room.
It's really funny to just imagine like seeing like a ghost sprinting towards you and then stopping and just going.
So John and Dustin were in the room, and I was standing in the doorway, and this is what John was talking about. Something started pushing the door closed on me.
So you had you were in the door. You were blocking you're like leaning up on. It was a sliding door.
No, I was in the door to the room.
He had his hand on the daughter's door to her room, not the closet.
Yeah. So let me and something like tried to push me closed in it, which was, I thought it was one of those guys, and I could see, but then I could see they weren't in there. So we got the hell out of there for a few. We bolted and went outside. I'm going to play that for you, but what I want you to pay attention to is they have an alarm system. You can hear us go out. You can hear us go out the house. All three of us.
When the front door opens, it'll beep.
It'll beep, and then you hear us close the door. And then once we're outside, you're going to hear that little girl's closet door slide closed by itself, as though something had been in the room up to that point and then retreated. So let me go ahead and play it.
The door. Here, come on.
What is it?
Okay.
The door's just closed.
This is where we're leaving the house. The three of us. Everybody in the house is leaving.
Did you hear that?
And then the closet door closed. When we came back in, it was closed.
And then there's a yeah or something after that.
I did hear something else in there too. And only because you mentioned it, I'm going to play one more, which is the weird circus type music that we could never explain. It's right here, and the one that you identified, I think. It's just weird. There was no toys. There was no baby mobile. There was nothing to make that sound. Anyway.
That's Nights at Freddy's music.
that's what you said, but this was way before Five Nights at Freddy's.
I know, but you line
out.
it up, it's 1-to-1.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because I did do that.
But anyway, so what happened? We'd heard the growling, we'd heard the gotten pushed in the door, his ear blown in. We heard the screech of something that sounded like something from inside the house that was scary as hell. So we decided we were done. We were going to gather our stuff up and leave. And as we were leaving, not only did we hear the voice, but Dustin, how would you describe what we heard as we were going down that hallway to leave?
I would describe it as like what you imagine a house sounding like that's collapsing.
Yeah, it sounds like everything's falling.
Like everywhere, it just sounded like the walls were coming in. Like the house was being demolished. There was just noise, just nothing but madness and noise.
He and I looked at each other, didn't say a word, and we just hauled ass. Out the house.
Yeah.
To
I would have too.
to the yard, and we were standing there, like what the hell happened in there just now? We were scared, honestly.
Up until this point, it had been like whispers and noises and voices and footsteps and things that are creepy and scary, but nothing like confrontational. Nothing that would like seem like it wanted us gone. Like chasing us out of the house like that was something that it kind of sticks with you. I had trouble sleeping for like a week after this.
I would imagine so.
So that's a long answer to that question.
That is a long answer. We haven't even got to the part where, like 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it was maybe a month after we've been there, they contacted us and said it burned. Nothing left.
Yeah, and
burned all the way to the
as
ground.
she pointed out, we had an EVP of saying it smells like smoke.
That was on a video.
Yeah. It burned to the ground.
And then firefighters say some pretty wild stuff about it, or
They
people
had
who
some
saw the
weird,
fire.
like kind of mysterious comments about it. And
They said they could see figures inside as it burned.
Oh my gosh.
Because they thought there were still people inside. But the 2 people who lived there, they were elderly, and they had to jump out a second-story window.
I mean, it was a bad deal.
Or he was. I shouldn't say they were. He was older. She wasn't.
This was a bad deal. I mean, it really was.
And they had problems, like in lots of times when the bad things start happening, it creates like this tension between the couple. They'll start arguing and fighting and
domestic and police are called and
things. The whole environment gets bad.
This one was the one that checked all the boxes on everything you see in all the horror movies. All of that really happened.
This really could be
a movie.
Yeah, because I know this is a long answer. There's no short answer to this stuff because we don't really know any of the answers. We can only tell you our experiences. But here's an even weirder part. Those 2 people moved to a home in Springfield and started having things happen there. And they called us to investigate there, and we caught the same voices in that house.
Okay, so I had a question earlier. It was something to do kind of like that. Like, I've always been a little afraid of like maybe buying something at a garage sale. Like,
Well,
cool
that's not weird.
Okay, all right, yep. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I am pretty cautious about, I used to be a freewheeler on eBay, but nowadays I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't necessarily believe, I don't know what I believe in, honestly. Because, people say that the spirits can attach themselves, and I've seen compelling stories where it seems like that happened, like the Dybbuk box and stuff like that.
There are famous, like,
and Annabelle?
The
Annabelle,
doll.
yeah.
And lots of times it's dolls and things like that. But, if that was the case, here... Like,
I'm not saying all things.
I know. I'm just saying, like, if
Every
that really
flea
was
market
the case,
would be super haunted.
It would be as easy as just throwing that thing out.
Oh, true.
To get
Well,
rid
they
of it.
tried that with. Have you ever seen the documentary on Robert the Doll?
Oh my gosh, I saw something.
You should
about
watch
it.
that one because he is more scary than Annabelle.
Yeah, I saw this thing, and this person, they went and there's been this theory, don't look him in the eyes or something like that. And there's been this theory of these people, they looked him in the eyes. A couple weeks later, he got diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, that's Robert.
Okay, well that's more terrifying. I was thinking more of like Chucky, where I could just kick that thing.
No, not that. This is where things start happening in your personal life.
Like, it's terrifying.
And that's Robert the Doll's
there
MO.
are theories on that, though, that there are beliefs that there's the possibility that if it's a dresser, it's a mirror, if it's anything like that, that it could
And if
be.
you'll remember, we did that investigation in, I don't even remember where the hell we were, but we did it because she had bought a cedar chest at a garage
Yeah, I
sale.
remember
And
that.
ever since she brought that cedar chest in, she had all this stuff happening. So anyway, I don't know. We can't sit here and be experts. If you ever see someone claim to be a paranormal expert, they're full of it because there's no such thing. We're all guessing. We're all telling you what we think based off experiences we had. But I will say this much. I'm also cautious about just buying randomly on eBay because that Dybbuk box, that's where it made its rounds, was on eBay. The attachment thing is a whole different thing that we, like I said, we're not experts. We have no idea. We couldn't even begin to tell you, but I've seen compelling. It's kind of like with Bigfoot. I don't believe in Bigfoot necessarily, but I've seen stories that are, weird.
Definitely.
Now, if I saw Bigfoot in the woods myself, it'd be a different story. Then we would be, the Bigfoot hunters.
So what do you guys, what is your opinion on that feeling that people say, like the hair on the back of your neck? Like if you've never been to a place before and you walk into it and then you're like, ooh, there's something in here. Is that a thing you think?
So there is taking paranormal out of it for a second. That is real. That's like instinctual. That's what our ancestors coming out of the caves had when there was a mountain lion stalking them
Saber-tooth,
behind.
yeah.
That's a real thing. So when I get that, I tend to trust it.
Absolutely.
So here's what I can tell you about that. I'm a terrible paranormal investigator. I don't feel things typically. That's why when I do feel things, it's significant. Like whenever I felt myself getting touched here, it was 4 cold fingers on my neck. Without a doubt. There's no question. I was wearing a hoodie and it was under the hood. So I felt that. However, when we go back, and I hate to go back to it, when we talk about this place in Willard, there was, when we first went in on that third visit, it felt just like it did on the first and second. Fairly normal. It was a nice house. It was well kept. It was clean. However, as the night progressed, the feeling inside changed significantly.
The air became a lot heavier.
And I don't know how to describe that.
The air became heavier. It became a lot more feeling of darkness, of evil in the air. And I know that sounds over dramatic, but it's really not for that house.
It felt like what I think I would feel like if I was walking in the dark woods alone at night.
Yeah. It's that feeling you get when you go to your own basement and you flip all the lights off and you're going upstairs and you start freaking yourself out. Something's behind you. It's that times 100. It's everywhere.
We've had a lot of cool things happen. We've had a ton of experiences. We've experienced all kinds of things. There's all kinds of interesting things we've seen. I saw a person one time who wasn't there, but this house in Willard was the one of never again. Get out of here. I don't ever want to have that sort of a thing happen. And we've talked about it so much that we even a few weeks ago on the podcast said, you know what, we're done.
We're not talking about that
We're not going
anymore.
to talk about it anymore.
However, the owner of that Willard house hadn't heard from her in 15 years, 10 years.
Gosh.
Well, she got in touch with us in around Christmas time and said, hey, we're in Springfield and we need you to come to our new house.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's
So-
the one that
So we're going to do that.
And it's been 10 years, you said, since you've been there?
10 or 15.
Oh, it's been longer than that.
Longer.
It's closer to 20.
Yeah, it's
my
been
goodness.
it's been a long time. Anyway, we're going to, against our better judgment, we're going to go
I don't
back.
even know if she realizes how
She doesn't realize that we get emails from all over the planet.
Asking about
we've
that.
had people from
Spain.
Istanbul email us telling us about the Willard house.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild to think about. I don't think she's aware of
She's
how,
not fully aware. We had her in here on the podcast last winter, and we told her, and she still didn't seem completely fully aware of what we were saying, the significance and the magnitude. But anyway, yeah, we've had a lot of things like that. As far as the one we don't really care to experience again is probably the one we told you about, the burn down, even though we're kind of probably going to experience it again. I don't know. We
But
don't know.
that's not what you want. You don't want that sort of a level of thing.
one of my favorite things about learning about the paranormal and stuff is learning the past or the history of where it all came from. I think that's one of my favorite things ever because you could find so many cool things that happened and then just
Well, the thing about it is there's a guy named Edwin Becker who's a real famous paranormal investigator, and he's written several books. Edwin Becker always, his number one recommendation is don't do paranormal investigations because you don't know what you're dealing with. And he's right about that. And he always says, too, you can't trust things. And we do this. Every paranormal investigator on the planet does this, where we'll look at a back history of the house, and then we try to draw connections that this is the ghost of blah, blah, blah. Edwin Becker will jump in and say, you can't make any of those connections because you don't know.
His angle is more that, something malevolent can disguise itself as something else. And that's could be very well true. I don't know, but I agree with you. It's still cool to make the connection between
we do that. We do that
anyway. So, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, that's really. I mean, you just gave us like 35 minutes worth of.
Oh Lord, I knew Willard would come up. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, her questions are good.
Her questions are good. Yeah.
Any other questions you've got for us? I will say that the ghost tours here at Pythian Castle are fantastic. If you ever get a chance to do that, they dive into the history. They go through all the history of it, and then they'll talk about things that they've caught here and so on.
Well, happy birthday. Thanks for coming. And, if you have any more questions or need anything, just get in touch with us. If you wanted to, peruse our website. We have all the EVPs and videos and pictures and everything that we've caught over the past several years on there. It's at mwghosthunters.com.
More Dark Matter next week from Pythian Castle in Springfield, Missouri with Midwest Ghost Hunters.